Welcome to Hey Hoosiers, episode 4. I'm Mr. G, and with us we have Jason, and we're going to present a statement from the CPUSA today. And what's that statement on, Jason?
So this is a statement, the National Party's statement on the Supreme Court's overruling of Roe in the decision from Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization. And this is, this is our statement as a party. So I'm going to just read it from the national website, and let's get it out there to folks so that they know, exactly what this means and where we stand and why we are, fighting so much and so hard to preserve the rights of women, gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender folks, white, black, brown, and white workers to unite and defeat this fascist threat that we're facing that's getting legal protection from our courts. So the statement begins, the Supreme Court's ruling in Dobbs versus Jackson Women's Health Organization is a horrific setback for women, their partners, their families, and society overall. As expected, the court overturned Roe v. Wade, making abortion rights susceptible to the whims of extreme right-wing state legislators. A woman may not get an abortion in Texas, but a resident of New York can, just as where you live determines where you can vote with ease, breathe fresh air, access Medicaid, or have your children attend a well-funded school. The same is now true regarding abortion rights. Human rights in this country have never been universal, and the Dobbs decision highlights this fact even further. The Supreme Court decision surely ranks high among the worst anti-human decisions in its history, such as the Dred Scott decision of 1857 or Plessy versus Ferguson of 1896. The first decision made by the Supreme Court dominated by slaveholders eliminated all restrictions on slavery in the Republic. Adding insult to injury, the court stated that the Constitution's authors never intended any Black person to have citizenship rights. Plessy held that racial segregation was constitutional, enshrined in the separate but equal doctrine. We all know how the equal part went. Like the 19th century justices, today's right-wing Supreme Court has determined that certain people, in this case women and trans men, are even less equal than they were before the court ruled on June 24th. What will be the impact of the ruling? The Southern Poverty Law Center writes that it will have serious long-term consequences for women and others. This terrible ruling also endangers other fundamental rights, putting many other communities at risk. The constitutional rights in jeopardy include the right to contraception and equal rights for LGBTQ+ community. The decision is particularly harmful for those people living in poverty because they lack the resources to travel to a state where abortion is legal or pay for necessary medical procedures. We must fight back to prevent this from becoming reality. Today, we mourn this horrific setback. Tomorrow and beyond, we organize. Everywhere in our communities, unions, schools, places of worship, and workplaces, we must help build a backlash against the right. One in the same spirit as the women who rebelled after Trump's election and helped take the House of Representatives away from the GOP in 2018. The millions who marched for Black lives after the murders of George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, and others, and the teachers, auto workers, and nurses who went on strike these past 4 years. As big as these moments were, the current situation demands a much broader movement, a much larger and broader movement, one that's more inclusive, more militant. Civil disobedience is in order. By inclusive, we mean the involvement of a wide range of society, genders, classes, and ethnic backgrounds. We also mean inclusiveness in terms of tactics. Some may be only willing to make phone calls to the elected officials. Some may want to work in the electoral arena to vote anti-abortion politicians out of office. Others may demonstrate and engage in civil disobedience and risk arrest. All tactics are on the table. We must engage with people who have never carried a picket sign or called their members of Congress. This is the kind of unity needed to turn the court's decision into a temporary setback. The Communist Party USA is committed to helping build unity to restore women's rights to an abortion. And that ends the statement.
So would you mind going over what the Supreme Court actually voted for and kind of explain how this would affect Hoosiers?
So the decision, that I understand it, and I'm not a legal expert, I'm not a lawyer, but what I understand is that this basically did away with any protections, sort of outlining that the Constitution does not inherently defend or protect a woman's right to an abortion, is what that ruling basically said in the sort of narrow definition of legal meaning, I guess. So what that means is it opens up the possibility for states, instead of having to, being barred from preventing women from having an abortion, now it's sort of a free-for-all. Any state that decides we're going to make abortion illegal because there's no longer a constitutional protection for that, they will do so. And in Indiana, the General Assembly is going to go into a special session probably this month here in July. And that is exactly what's going to happen. They are going to outlaw abortion. And and we're going to be surrounded by states that will also have outlawed or made it illegal to get an abortion, recognizing life from conception, basically, is what these Republicans are going to do. And this is designed, specifically to keep people in poverty, because we know and understand that capitalism requires a pool of very desperate folks who are willing to accept low wages, no benefits, long hours, just to be able to survive. And this is how they do that. It also, works to appeal toward the white nationalist, fascist base of the party that have very nationalist, very conservative, right-wing, Christian, fascist religious beliefs. And so this is their way of, uniting their base in this, in this time. And they're doing it at a time right before the midterm elections, and they're doing it at a time as the GOP has become a fascist party. Buying into the big lie. I mean, all these things are tied together. The fact that we can't have health care, and now women are forced to give birth to babies that may not be, wanted, or could be the product of rape or incest, or that they'll be forced to pay for all the healthcare costs that go with having a child, without the benefit of having universal health care to do it. So that puts people deeper into poverty. And it does affect Black, brown, and poor white communities the most, because simply they can't afford to go somewhere else to get an abortion. So this is a health crisis. It is a social and political crisis, and it requires a response that is quantitatively and qualitatively different than what we've had in the past. And this is really significant because this is the first time the Supreme Court has moved to take away a right instead of protect one. And we're going and expect to see more of that with the right-wing fascist Supreme Court, especially with Clarence Thomas and his ties to the big lie through his wife, and attempting to overturn the elections in 2020. A lot of things are on the table that weren't on the table before, and we have to respond with that knowledge and in a way that is effective.
Okay. So what are some things that people can do, that our communities can do, that individuals can do to keep keep our abortion rights?
So we have to organize. If you're in a union, this is an important agenda point to put on the next union meeting. We need a vote of the membership and the unions. We need labor involved in this, because this is a labor struggle, just like it is a healthcare struggle. So we need labor involved. We need numbers, and we need an organized fight back by union members, teachers, healthcare workers, contacting representatives, phone, email, and showing up outside representative offices of the State House and showing our disagreement and our determination to secure rights for everyone, including this particular issue of choice and women's health. And so that's what we have to do. We have to be an organized, and we have to mobilize people who haven't been mobilized before. And we need to do that by showing up ourselves and talking to neighbors, talking to friends, family, and getting them in the streets.
So do we know of any actions coming up anytime in the future with Medicare and healthcare and abortion rights?
Yeah, so July 23rd, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, we will be meeting at the Soldiers and Sailors Monument, downtown Indianapolis. This is a march for Medicare for All and a march for healthcare, which includes abortion. Abortion is a critical part of women's health, and being able to access places like Planned Parenthood and being able to get contraception when needed. These are important and key factors in health. And it's sad to have to justify the existence of abortion clinics, because we shouldn't even have to do that. Abortion clinics should be accepted as they are doing what they do, and there should be no apology to that whatsoever. But they also do other things that help with women's health. That is another key factor that is ignored by the right, and it's sad that I have to bring that up in addition to talking about abortion, but that's true. That's just as an important part of healthcare for a lot of families, really, just as abortion is. And we should make no apology about any of that. But the March for Medicare for All, this is an important piece of that, of getting workers and everybody access to the healthcare that they need.
Thank you, Jason, for talking with us and reading that statement for us from the National CPUSA. Stay tuned for more episodes of Hey Hoosiers. We also do a solidarity segment where we have different organizations that we work with, and we have Reaction Report, which is also reports on different protests, rallies, actions that we do here in Indiana.